Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you, wherever you are in this great big world. We are coming to you live from not only the Static Planet, also known as Windsor, Ontario, the border town. We're also coming to you live from Facebook, from YouTube, KGRA Digital Worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all streaming platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, the list goes on. We don't even have time to go through that list. But let me tell you something here. I was blowing smoke up, Dale, to my friends, the paranormal gods earlier, asking for some advice, asking for some direction. Do you blow smoke up? Everybody listening to the 3 people that are viewing it now, and it's going to get bigger with more viewers. Do you blow smoke up to the paranormal gods? Do you even paranormal? I don't know. My name is Michael John of Michael John's Paranormal Ghost Stories. Next to me right there is the man of the hour, the man of the power, my co-ghost host. He's way too sweet to be sour. Dale, high spirits quickly together. We are the voice of the paranormal, the voice for the paranormal. Windsor, Ontario's own, the paranormal voice. And we have a ring-a-ding-dong dandy of the show for you tonight. So many things going on. We're going to just get right down to brass tacks. We don't need to get into announcements right now. We'll talk about it later on at the end of the show because our guest is just what an amazing lady. I don't want to keep her waiting too long. She's done so many things. She's got a bag of tricks a mile long. An actress. She's a motorcycle. She's a motorcyclist. There's a picture of her and her husband riding motorcycles. Oh my God. She's a power lifter. I see the photos on Facebook. We're going to talk about that. Yes, she is an author and she's also an inventor of the one and only, oh my God, Crystal Pod, and now the new Seer Pod. So many different designs. And also, I love her book here, Dark Moonlight, Discovering Your World with Magic, Mysticism, and the Paranormal. If you haven't read this book, this is an amazing read, available on Amazon. Without further ado, let's get this amazing human being, one of the greats in the paranormal. She, you know what's great about her? She's real. She's not phony. What you see is what you get with her. One of the realest people that I have the privilege and pleasure of knowing. Come on out now, ladies and gentlemen, Lauren Hellekson.
I love you so much.
We love you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. You. I think there's a tear right here. I feel
a little.
So that was a beautiful. Thank you very much. I'm really
it's all true,
here.
Right? You got a heck of a list, and we mean what we say when we say you're one of the real ones. You know what I mean? We don't blow smoke. I was saying that earlier, but I mean we don't blow smoke to people in that way. It's a matter of we say what we see, right? And you vibe with our tribe, and that's the bottom line. You're one of the good guys, if you will, to use that cliche saying. Thank you so much for being here. And I mean, you've done so many things. You've worn so many hats, and you're juggling them at the same time as well. It's amazing. Like, where do we begin with you to get you? I mean, day one. Okay. I mean, oh my God. Let me look at my notes because I don't know where to start
ADHD,
with you. You have so many things. What?
ADHD and a lot of coffee.
Right here for sure. So now you gave us a bio. We asked for a bio. We always ask for a bio from our guests. I mean, now the beginning of the bio, it says this: Lauren has been traversing the realms. I love that of spirituality for over 15 years. Now I'm going to your book now, Dark Moonlight: Discovering Your World with Magic, Mysticism, and the Paranormal. Available on Amazon, folks. I'm telling you, it's a great book. Now you mentioned you investigated alone.
I just want to put this out there really quick, just because he's...
What's that?
Also a wonderful read. Everybody, it's available on Amazon. Just so you know. Support your friends, always. Okay,
yes,
I'm so sorry.
Absolutely. And that's why we love you. So you investigated alone for something like 14 years. I want to, why alone?
So traversing the realms of
Yeah.
spirituality. I wasn't necessarily paranormal investigating. So it's been sort of here and there with spirituality, whether it was either, yes, sort of exploring my hometown and the areas one year I did like a haunted tour throughout my town where I did all of the research on the places that had, sordid history. And then we did a fundraiser event where I took everybody around the town and we did a walking tour. And it was really cool. I lived in an old apartment building that was haunted, and I've always been into just making people like come with me and do crazy things. So I'd get everybody in the apartment building together and we'd investigate the building. But also it was like practice spirituality. I had a few Reiki attunements. I studied yoga in India. I've always been on this sort of search for answers to the things that we can't necessarily find answers to with regular normal things. So the paranormal was just kind of like weirdo pipeline to paranormal is just, it's going to happen no matter what.
I love that. So with all that, I mean, doing that alone, I mean, in 14 years worth, greatest moment, greatest experience, creepiest, freakiest, weirdest moment.
Greatest was traveling. I like to, well, so I don't like to say I do it. I mean, I guess I have been. Gosh, geez, man, I was alone for a lot of I traveled a lot by myself. It wasn't that I didn't connect with people. I think it was just sometimes we have to do a lot of our biggest growth and our healing by ourselves. We can't expect other people to pick up the pieces. We really have to learn that these vessels are the only ones that we get and we're in charge of taking care of them. So a lot of my journey was, by myself. And I have, people in my family, my sister and I are really close. So there's always been people around, but doing a lot of the figuring stuff out, was always alone. Greatest moment, definitely, getting the chance to just I literally dropped everything, emptied my bank accounts, bought a plane ticket and went over to India. And I stayed there for a month and I wanted to get my yoga certification. So I'd been saving up and I found out that getting your yoga certification in the United States, just going was less expensive than flying to India to do it. So I was like, F it. And just dropped everything and went. So that was one of the greatest moments because I'd never really left my hometown. I moved to Pittsburgh, and that was the first time I had ever left the place that I was born and raised. So that was a crazy mind thing. Ended up meeting people there, and that's what brought me over to India. And I'd been to Israel, and I went to Ireland, and I went to Germany. And so I ended up doing a lot of travel and a lot of discovery to just sort of open up this like whole new existence. And it's a very privileged thing that I was able to do, and that's not accessible to everybody. So I'm always very cognizant of that. But that was my greatest moment, was just having the opportunity to do that. Scariest moment was flying to India by myself.
Wow, that's an honest answer. And it's funny.
Terrifying.
I noticed with your list, I mean, if it's got I in front of it, I think you've been there across the globe at this point. India, Ireland,
India, Israel,
wow.
Ireland. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of funny. Yeah. Traveling alone is really scary. It's kind of terrifying. And being a woman, too, going to countries where sometimes you might come across people that a Western woman isn't the most welcomed.
Really?
So, yeah. Now, small villages, no. The place that I studied was the most amazing place in the universe. I think a lot of people will say, like, if you go to just any small place in the U.S. is very, like, welcoming, depending on where in the U.S. But same thing, if you go to another country, find the small local places. Don't go to the commercialized places. They're wild. But we were in a sort of a small area, lived in an ashram for an entire month, and it was the most just incredible, welcoming, family-like atmosphere, completely disconnected from so much of the world. So a lot of my life changed in that sort of early 20, mid late 20s. I turned 30 in Rishikesh, India. Like, who the fuck can say that? Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss or not, but sorry, I did. But yeah.
Hello,
so
Jenny.
I didn't answer any of your questions that you just asked.
No, it was great. No, you did actually. You
All
really
of them
did.
happened there. So a lot of self-discovery.
Yes.
A lot of the scary paranormal stuff didn't happen until that's the more recent when I really didn't enter this field as the field that we're all in, the shows, this.
Yes.
2 years ago. Before that, I had only hunted places in my hometown, did a couple things by myself, who would have thought? And I never really entered that public sector of this paranormal community until I joined Tri-C Ghost Hunters.
Which you joined in 2022.
Yeah. And that was the first time that I was like, and this might seem, because of course we all see the shows, but that was the first time that I was like, holy shit, there's a ton of people, like real people into this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. And because I was never able to go to Waverly and OSR and the places that are so expensive to get into. I was ghost hunting my friend's house because his door closed, and he was like, do you want to come over and check this out? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I'd never been to these big places because I could never afford it. She says after she went to India, because I traveled, I had no money.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was poor after that. It was like eat, pray, love, bankruptcy. Woo.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to be able to travel around and to experiences as well as gain the knowledge that you have and all the training you've had, like reiki and all that stuff. It's different because in different countries everything is so different, and people don't realize that because most of us are used to the North American way. But when you go to these other places, and I mean especially India, where the paranormal is quite normal to them, like it's so amazing on how different it is in different countries. So it's great that you got to experience all that. So I mean that's truly amazing to say you even did that, and you did it well. Like you said, you cashed it all in and just traveled the world to gain a lot of knowledge. And to bring all that experience back and be able to talk to us about it is I just want to recognize some of the people who are tuning in right now. We have Matt Dolan. Matt Dolan,
Lauren, go.
Christy,
thank you.
Christy Natus, Kim Sage, Rob Palmer. Who else? We got Miss Jenny Davis from Unturned Pages.
Yeah. I get to be with Jenny tomorrow.
That's right. Oh my God, Lauren Hellekson everywhere.
All over the place.
She's all over. That's it. She's taking over the world. Awesome. One show at a time.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Wow.
Kevin McKenzie, and of course Donna Roberts.
Kevin,
we're all happy to have everybody here this evening and joining us in talking to the lovely Miss Lauren Hellekson. We got to meet you this past year at the MI Paracon, which is always an amazing event. We always walk away from those places like with so much more family members because it is amazing people that attend that event. And so I know I'm jumping ahead here by 2,000 years. I actually got to investigate with you a little bit at OSR, a place that you're very familiar with now. OSR was a dream for me to be able to investigate. It was actually the first time I ever did a prison. It was absolutely hands down, nonstop, action. I would say everybody walked away with something that night. Uh, Now, the reason why I bring up OSR, because you were there to help us all witness something amazing that happened to Tim Shaw.
Ooh.
When we were in the chair room.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had Tim sitting in the chair. There was Frank Koopa and Heather sitting behind Tim. There was my son Colby, Vanessa, and Crystal from Black Moon Paranormal, and myself. We were all in this room, and then all of a sudden, I could hear you outside the door because you had this static,
Such a nerd.
this static electricity thing going off, and at first I'm like going, "What is that? Oh, wait, I know what that is."
Lauren being weird.
And then I was like, "So, I want to hear from you what you experienced, the channeling that Tim went through, because we were all talking about that on our paranormal roundtable, and it was absolutely amazing. I want to get your take because you had a different view. You were straight on looking them dead. You were like,
No pun.
I would say probably no more than what, but 15. I think you fed it pretty well because that was amazing. So, could you walk us through what happened and maybe the people that are tuning in that weren't there got to experience this? What you felt as well as your thoughts on it?
So I did like that interaction because I am very up in the air when it comes to paranormal activity and like how it manifests itself. But I'm very much of the belief of, you know, mediumship, psychics, and people having a connection with something through a veil that we don't normally have access to. And I think that the different ways that it manifests itself in this sort of dimension of reality is always really, really fascinating. And I also wanted to note too, that was something in sort of hindsight, is that things didn't really amp up until I think all of us that were on that hunt were all ended up present in that moment. And that sort of amped up a little bit more, which I found interesting because Kathy and I were somewhere else in the building. And then we sort of made our way over to where you guys were. And then all hell was kind of started to break loose there. And the chair room, there are, you know, all sorts of spiritual based theories. You know, we always like to keep in mind, no matter what, that when it does come to the paranormal, this is all sort of it's all based on personal experience. It's all based on theory. It's all based on sort of this pseudoscience that we're figuring out and getting through. But it doesn't mean that we're not having these personal experiences. So Kathy and I get there, and I'm doing a lot with static electricity, and specifically, if you want to get woo-woo, static in encouraging that sort of veil or those portals to open. There's more to it. It's not that simple, I promise. So we get there, and Tim is sitting in the chair room in the chair, and everybody's sort of surrounding him, and you can tell there's this moment where it's Tim and then it's not Tim. And he started saying something, and I looked at Kathy and I said, "That's not Tim." And I sat down in front of the door with my static generator, and I started generating. It's going, and I'm just generating this static, like watching, and I'm like, "Will he explode? I don't know. Let's do it." And I'm just generating like a madman, and like sitting on the floor like a child. And he sort of starts getting louder and louder and louder. And Kathy and I are watching into the room, and we saw Frank and Heather behind him. So we saw their two shadows behind him. And then we both, this is just a personal experience. I'm not saying this is what happened, but with my eyeballs and my brain putting this together, this is sort of what I saw with my eyes. Behind Tim, as he's getting loud and he's describing this, "What are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. You see this sort of like black shape, and 5 minutes later, I'm going to be talking about how I don't believe in ghosts, by the way. It's going to be so funny. You see this sort of dark shape sort of like rise out behind Tim on the wall. and you see Frank and Heather's shadows. So I know they're there. And then you see it go up, because I didn't see Frank and Heather. I saw their shadows. So that's how I knew that they were back there. Goes up and it meets where the wall meets the ceiling. So you have Tim. I don't know if somebody's lighting him from the front, but there wasn't a lot of light in there. And you have a shadow that goes all the way up behind him with a crease up on top of the wall. And
Wow.
you would have had to been directly in front of him to cast the shadow, because it's a square room. So you'd have to been right in front of him, and I was in front of him. And I don't use a flashlight at OSR because I like to choose violence. And so I wasn't shining anything on him, but it was just right behind him, directly behind him. And we thought that was really interesting. And that was distracting me more so than the conversation that was happening. But I could tell, like, he was being very loud. And then it was just done. And then we were all like, oh, cool. You guys want to go back down to the break room?
Yeah, no, that was a very interesting moment, because when you're talking about seeing this shadow pop up behind Tim. Now, I had a thermal imager on Tim at the time where I was sitting, and I could watch it grow at the same time, but through the thermal imager, it blocked out Frank and Heather. Like, I couldn't even see their heat energy anymore.
Frank's not a small man, ladies and gentlemen.
No, Frank's like 12 feet tall.
He's a relative to Bigfoot, just no hair.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It was such an experience from being in OSR. Like I said, everybody walked away, and we talked to a lot of the people that were there that night, and it was everybody walked away with some type of experience. And that just goes to show you, like, just how active OSR is.
And that's the only reason, while I'll agree to that, is because so much stuff happens there. It happens. I've experienced more things in the daytime too, on tours. I mean, yeah, there's no time constraint when the ghosties want to come on out, right?
Well,
OSR has energy.
Well, we were talking a little bit about this, but it makes sense, because when you think about it, a prison is active during the day. It's not active at night because the prisoners are on lockdown. They're told to go to bed at a certain time. They're told to wake up at a certain time. So, when people go, well, why is it active during the day? It's because this is when they are doing their normal routines. So why wouldn't it be active?
I will say, if you think about time, now we go through a lot of daylight savings and things like that too. So there is how time today, like noon back in 1850s, would not have been noon anyway. So you have a lot of difference in you know what I mean? So the further back, then it really doesn't matter. And when it comes,
it's crazy.
Very loaded conversation here, but how we think, how each individual person thinks that that sort of energy is manifesting itself, whether we think it's, dead Uncle George walking around with chains on him, or if we think it is a multidimensional being that is just playing the part in order to interact with us.
Yes.
So it could maybe not even be prison people. Maybe those are just the fifth dimensional scientists that are just working on the prison sector for our dimension. And they're like, we gotta act like prison people so we don't freak them the fuck out, so we can continue studying them. And if you want to get real crazy, I do have I have my tinfoil hat right here. And just kidding. This was my Faraday cage from my video. I should put that back on. That was really perfect with how I'm talking right now, like a crazy person.
No,
so if
great.
we think about that, the rules kind of disappear.
Great. Yes.
Because even just on a clock in general, noon in 1852 is not noon in 2024.
Right.
Apparently not. No.
Just with the revolutions of the Earth and the different time changes and where we are in the universe right now, the sun is probably not in the same. And there's a website that you can look this up. Like, what time would it be now in 1852
Right.
in Mansfield, Ohio. Should I just Google it?
now,
Now I gotta know.
now,
All right, but
now
yeah.
but
Lauren,
You know what I mean?
Lauren, we're gonna zig and zag with you
I
today.
know, I'm crazy.
We're all
no,
crazy,
absolutely
and that's why
not.
we get along.
This is why we get along so well, because we're all in the same boat together.
So I'm gonna zig and zag here with you. I'm gonna change the topic a bit here.
Yeah, I love it.
Now,
Let's do it.
I'm gonna throw a quote from the book. Sometimes magic is the excuse to realize that we are the magic.
Correct.
I love that. I just wanted to say,
Correct.
fucking love that. Okay. Number one. Now, you mentioned your book. It was at this point in time for you to be your own authentic self. What led you to saying that? You weren't saying a lot of stuff when you were originally practicing magic with people. You're letting them do their thing, pretending like you had no idea what was going on, is what basically what you're saying. But then eventually you wanted to be your own authentic self and you felt so much better.
So adding on to that,
Please.
I am a practitioner of the witchy woo woo. So I am very interested in a spiritual connection with the energy around us. And through that, we deem that witchcraft. I do a lot of moon rituals. I celebrate the solstices, the equinoxes. I do, things with jars and Eye of Newt,
Yes,
and
you do.
which is a herb, actually. I'm a vegan witch. But
Eye of Newt is an herb?
It was a nickname for an herb. There's a lot of those, like Eye of Newt and Tongue of Dog were folkloric nicknames for actual like plants and herbs.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that fun? It's like, I love it so much.
And here, all these years, I thought they were actually putting the tongue of a dog into something.
No, Yeah, it would just been like the folkloric names for things. There's a whole, you can look up all the cool names for the different herbs that we still use today, and you can kind of look up their like old folkloric, like witchy names. But like the first time that I really, in my adulthood at least, I think everybody who practices, okay, listen, we're in the paranormal, so all of us probably had either that one moment in our adolescence that we either like tried to make something move with our eyes, or we, I don't know why my thing does this. This does it all the time.
What is
my
happening?
Balloons. I don't know. My balloons. I even tried a different camera because I thought maybe it was my camera. I have no idea.
Whatever.
Where we either tried to make something move, or we a certain time. Wouldn't happen at any other time. The collective energy is strong. Yeah. And absolutely. And or we drew a big pentagram on our hardwood floors in our bedroom. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Did you do that? No comment?
All I know is that when the next people bought our house and they ripped up the carpet, I got a text message, okay? And thankfully they were friends. But so we all had that sort of stage, but in my adulthood, practicing magic was very sort of like, is it taboo? Are people going to think I'm weird? So I had this girlfriend who was like, yeah, I'm a witch. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Can you like show me your witchy stuff? And she's like, yeah, I'll come over and we'll do this and that. And I was like, oh, okay. And we went through this whole thing and did all this stuff. And I was like, okay. I was like, I guess it's not this big production. And, maybe I'm not doing this, wrong or whatever. And I'm like, I wonder how many people are so stunted in their spiritual growth because they don't think that they're doing it right. Because we have social media, we have the witchy aesthetic, we have all of these things that are telling us like, this is what you have to look like, be, and do if you want to be a witch. And none of that's true. So one of my big goals in writing this book was not just to bring the fact of just like my life and sort of put it down on paper. And it was a box I needed to check for Greg Fikedek, and we can go into that later. But I really wanted to give something easy and palatable to people that weren't sure what they were doing, but also weren't sure what they wanted to practice. And the only rules that I have in here are like, be kind, be respectful, make sure that you're not appropriating cultures that you don't have, access to, and you're more magical than the shit that you have in your cabinet.
And you know what I liked, and then I'll move on from the book. You mentioned when doing magic, I mean, you're performing for yourself. You're mentioning this. It's just how important it is to be consistent, meaning always pay attention to the deities, the beings, the spirits, if you will, however that resonates. Paying attention in the sense you're acknowledging them often. Like myself here, pardon me. I have a couple altars here. You know, I've got some whiskey on there. I've got snacks like chocolate and chips and pretzels and peanuts. Coins. I like shiny things. I even use if my cat's claws fall. My perception.
Oh, that's a good one. And the whiskers too.
Yes, 100%. But that's a whole other topic. But I also put the whiskers in. But I mean, I put the claws in to give to my spirit guides, my spirit friends, my protectors, my ancestors. If they need it to battle whatever's around me, in my mind, they can use those claws for protection as well as a tool. But anyways, it's not about me here. So now it's not just when you need them, but you also say, like, not like a fair weather friend. Pay attention to them all the time, not just when, okay, I want to conjure up or I want to manifest some money. Okay, hey, come on down. No, it doesn't work that way. And I love that you say that. Can you expand on that a bit, please?
And that's even coming from a stance that I don't necessarily work with deities per se. I have a lot of imagery that I work with, no, I guess it's a lie because I work with the moon a lot. So I guess in a way the moon is sort of, a lot of my altars are to the moon, to plants, to the different elements, and I do acknowledge them on a daily basis. So it's like whatever you want to draw your power, your magic, your inspiration, your spirituality from, don't just do it when you want something. It's just like a friendship. Don't just reach out to your friend when you want something. Check in, even if it's checking in to be like, you know, wow, the moon's beautiful today. Yo, girl, you look beautiful today. And like, or, you know, check in on the leaves of your plants or, you know, the altars. I have like, oh my gosh, Kathy, I was talking to my beautiful, wonderful, I call her my witch wife, Kathy. And she was like, can you show me some pictures of your altars? I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. And I was like, say less, you are, but of course I'll send you mine. And I have like 12 all around the house. I was like, there's this one, and there's this one, and there's this one, and they're all over the place because it's just like the more you can pay attention to your magic in a way that it's you every day, all the time, that bleeds into other parts of your life. That bleeds into the boundaries that you need to have with people in order to protect yourself. That bleeds into you making sure that you have special time for yourself. Do I have to say boundaries again? That needs to bleed into the boundaries that you have with people. It looks like I needed to repeat that for...
That's, you know what? And I love what a message that is. I mean, life in general, but I mean, it makes so much sense. If you're going to do it, be all in.
And you don't have to do magic every day, literally. Just sometimes I'm just like, Tim Shaw gave me this bracelet, and I wear this as this sort of like spiritual piece, and I think of it as like, it's a protection piece. So anytime I'm doing something paranormal, important, anytime I'm going to do something where I might feel anxious or I might feel nervous coming on a podcast, I put this on, and this is a part of my magic. You know, I put my mother's jewelry on. That's a part, and that's magic. I'm practicing magic right the fuck now.
Yes.
And my candle, like it's, and I'm not okay. I'll step off my soapbox.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No, please don't stop. Please.
This is all about you. So I want to get a little bit into these amazing crystal pods that you
let me
are.
Put my science glasses on. Take off the witchy ones.
So I got a couple here. You could talk about them. So as we're looking at these, like, tell us what inspires you to do this.
So
get one more in your hand.
It's funny. The crystal pod was a happy accident, believe it or not. Like I said, I'm on Tri-C Ghost Hunters, and being on that team and working my first parapsychon like blew my head right open, where I was just like, holy shit, this is like a thing that people do. And I told Greg and Kathy Fiketic, who put on Parapsychon every year, they're the head of Tri-C Ghost Hunters. Greg is the lead investigator for the Ohio State Reformatory. And look at all those babies. And and Dale puts up some beautiful pods on the screen, and they're very gorgeous for those of you listening later on the radio. They're so beautiful. Go to my website and you can see them.
What's the website?
LaurenHantz.com, or Google Crystal Pod. I bet you it'll come up.
Okay, thank you.
So I had told him, I was like, you know what, Greg, one of these days I'm gonna be a speaker at Parapsychon. I had always been, I've done a lot of workshops. I've taught workshops about witchcraft. I've done, of course, in the yoga meditation world, spiritual healing, shamanic, healings, or all these things I've sort of done. So I'm very used to being sort of the facilitator of encouraging people. And I told Greg, I said, I'm going to be at Parapsychon one day, and I'm going to be a speaker. And he was like, well, what have you done? And I was like, well, nothing yet. What do I need to do? And he was like, have you written a book? And I was like, nope, but I'll get started on it. And he was like, have you been on TV? And I was like, I'll get started on it. And he was like, have you done this? And I was like, I'll get started on it. So I made this list, and I think he was thinking he was being funny. And I was like, say fucking less. And then, Dark Moonlight. That's why I said, I mean, it was important. It was something that I needed to do, but it was also a check mark. And he had known that I've always been sort of a tinkerer, and I've always been a fixer and things like that. And I had told him about this, and you mentioned motorcycles. My first motorcycle, I was like, this isn't running really well. I think I'm going to take the carburetor apart and learn how to rebuild carburetors via YouTube. And and I was like, this is so great. And so I've always been like hands-on, learn how something works, and either fix it, make it, create it, or break it, but learn while I break it. And that did start when I was young. Ask my poor dad. And so Greg was like, you fix stuff. This is broken. You want to fix it? And he hands me this. Oh, I don't have one over here. It's the pods that I use for the workshop that I teach now to sort of pass that on to people. But it's just one of those proximity sensors that it's like the modified door alarm. And it's just a little black sort of thing. And it's a modified REM pod, basically. And I was like, yeah, I could probably fix that. Do you mind if I take it apart? And he's like, no, not at all. So I go home, I take it apart, and I was like, shit, I can fix this. I can fucking build these. And so, I got the parts for it, and I built it, and I was like, I'm going to put this in something. I can't really afford a REM pod, so I'm going to get a box that kind of looks like a REM pod. And I owned a yoga studio, so I had a shit ton of crystals. I was like, I'm just going to put some crystals on it because it's going to look pretty. And I had been doing vendor shows, just selling sort of like witchcraft stuff with my book. Pendulums, things like that too. And so I brought it with me because it was hot on location, and I sat it on my table, and people are like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's a REM pod that I built, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, can I buy it? And I'm like, oh no, it's just mine. And they were like, can I buy it? And I was like, no. And they were like, will you take my firstborn child? And I was like, I won't, but maybe I should make these, I guess. Right. And so I made a few, and last year, I would say 80% of the vendor shows that I took stock to, I sold out every show. And the biggest show was at, I want to say Madison Seminary, Adam Kimmel. I drove up, and Kimmel recognized me from one of his other shows, and he was like, what did he say? You're about to get raided. And I was like, okay, I brought like 20 pods with me. And he was like, yeah. The show started at 11. They were gone by 11:30. Gone.
Wow.
Peace out.
I love that.
Like, yeah, awesome. It was insane. So I was like, okay then. And I brought it to an event at the Ohio State Reformatory with Dave Giuliano. And I was just going to use it because I was like, whatever. It's great. I love them. I love how they work. I've been learning so much more about, capacitive proximity sensors by just using this and experimenting with it, and just learning more about the equipment and sharing what I'm learning. And Dave Giuliano was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, do you want to see it? It's mine. And he was like, I want to sell these. Can I sell these? And I was like, I mean, I guess I sell them. And he's like, we need to talk. And so he kind of we need to talk. And we finally kind of sat down, and now we have these, great, this great friendship and these Zoom calls, and they sell in the Ghost Hunter store. And there's one in my workshop that I'm finishing because it is being shipped to Australia. So I am I've shipped them all over the country. I've shipped them into Canada, and I'm getting ready to ship it to Australia. So I am like, officially, the Crystal Pod is a worldwide piece of equipment.
Dale, can you please put the picture up with the multiple crystal? Yeah, right there. So I just want to say for those listening, I mean, you got different colored crystals on there. You got a baby blue. There's like a purple and white. There's like a green and white there. I'm not sure what the color on the top right is. What color is that?
The top
Yeah,
right, that
please.
is a laser engraved design.
Okay.
So I have a laser engraver now, so I can do like full custom designs on tops of things.
Nice. So like ghost hunting groups could get their logo on there. You had one that was a Ouija board.
That green one. So there's a green pod that has that OPS and the skeletal man and all of those teeth.
Yes.
That is my friend Mikey's logo. And that is a custom that he ordered. He's Odin on TikTok.
Okay.
And he ordered that, and he also ordered a beautiful one for his partner Mal. And so I do custom work now as well. One recently, if anybody watching or listening is on TikTok, Becky Ann Galantine, I sent her a spirit board pod, and I think it's almost up to 100,000 views on TikTok.
Yeah.
So that one's pretty freaky.
So for those who don't know what a spirit board is, Ouija board all day long.
The Ouija board.
Looks incredible. I saw it. I know Dale saw it. I was like, oh my God. Talk about next level. I love saying that. Every time you go on Lauren Hellekson's page, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, she's always doing something different. It's always next level. She got something else. I think next thing up, she'll have a REM pod with a candle on top. We were talking about that backstage.
Actually, I'm going to have a REM pod that instead of the trigger sounding like this, you're going to be able to customize music.
Wow.
So it can play. It's much like the lantern that is available on the Ghost Hunter store, except you can pick the song. So you can tailor it to the location and things like that. So time period, all that stuff.
So you could have Bela Lugosi's Dead on there.
You could have Bela Lugosi's Dead on there.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
See, I think we need to order one of those RAM pods with the Paranormal Voice logo on it, because I think that would just be so sweet. I can
absolutely do that.
So you got your crystal pods, but now, I mean, you mentioned something. You also have what's coming up. It's called a seer pod.
The seer device.
Seer device.
Now,
I'm sorry.
I will preface this with my style of creating equipment. I did not necessarily invent any of the circuitry on the inside of any of these pieces of equipment. I am very simplistic and like analog with my design. I don't do super, super fancy stuff at all. When it comes to how I like to investigate the paranormal, I'm very like atmospheric based. So I want to know if there's static in the room. I want to know if there is, electromagnetic radiation in the room. So the experiments that I work with are all very simple and base. I don't know if this will get me canceled, but it's going to happen anyway. I think that the investigation techniques that we have going on are so far beyond where we need to be right now, just because we have the technology. We can't explain simple phenomena yet. And so that's where I'm starting. Very simple, very ground level, very boring. So that's why I make my shit real fucking pretty.
And you know what? I think if anybody's going to be able to do it, I think Lauren Hellekson is the one to do it and get it done. I really believe that with what you know and what we know about you and what you've proven to so many of us out there that know who Lauren Hellekson is, who Lauren Hellekson, the inventor, the creator is. You're going to be the one to do this.
I hope so. I really my biggest goal when it comes to my career in the paranormal is helping people to use the equipment that they have or the equipment that they have access to in a better way that they can get data and results that they can present in a more sort of objective way. Everything in the paranormal is really, really dependent upon the belief. And if you can gather just some kind of data that you could present in a way that it's not dependent upon belief, that's one step in the right direction. And it might be something tiny, might be something teeny tiny. I'm doing some experimentation with the Old World Paranormal Society is giving me some really great ideas, and we're going to do some experimentation that has to do with working with psychics and mediums, and it's about frequency, something very simple, like a Chladni plate, and working with frequency and air pressure, and like just very simple things that everybody has access to just see how can we find correlations with very real, accessible, we know how it works, we already know the science behind it, apply that to the paranormal and see if we can find any sort of relationship there before we move on to the, you know, the devices where I don't really know how they work, but the ghost just knows that this button means this and this button means that, and they know how this is, and but you I don't know, not to start to vent on it, but there's so many really difficult pieces of equipment that I can't tell you how it's working. And the transparency just isn't there. And if you are looking for personal experiences, forget everything I'm saying. It doesn't fucking apply at all. I'm only talking on a basis of if you want to further it as a study. That's it. Yeah. Because don't get me wrong, y'all. I'm a witch. I'll just walk around with my fucking pendulum and I'll like, ooh, some touched me. And I'm fine with that. And sometimes I need to do that to like bring myself back, because I'll sit in the workshop and I'll be like, shit, ghosts don't fucking exist. This is all a waste of time. And I'm like, I got to go to OSR. I got to bring myself back in. So, but yeah, so I'm very simplistic. But so the seer pod.
Yes.
It detects presence of static electricity and static electricity discharge, and it's this is an empty box because they're not finished yet, but the box is really pretty, and it is a very simple circuit that, you know, levels small, even combing through the hair. So yes, it's going to be more susceptible to some false positives. So you really have to create a controlled environment to use something like this. And it's not made to be a communication device. It's not made for yes and no. It's only made to, if you are in a place and you think that there might be a portal, you put this exactly where that fucking portal is and you start working around that place. And if that light starts to light up, you pay attention.
Now you're talking.
So that's kind of what this is for. I have a lot of theories behind static electricity and portals to other dimensions, y'all.
Now, you went back, you mentioned about being a witch. Yes. Now, something interesting. Again, let's go back to the book. I said I wouldn't, but I'm going to. Sorry.
That's okay. Keep doing it. I love that you love it.
Your husband, Christopher, the one you motorcycle ride with. I've seen some great photos of the two of you together.
I taught him how to ride.
Oh my God, that's so badass.
I put him on his first bike. I taught that man how to ride.
So what's interesting, you mentioned at the beginning where you're saying your thank yous and stuff to everybody. He was the first person to actually call you a witch with so much love and excitement behind it. Super supportive, I guess, of you being a witch. I mean, how the heck did that make you feel? Finally, someone validates, yes, you're awesome. And he brags about you like that.
And it was cute too. He's so adorable. He didn't say it in a way that was like, oh, you're a witch. No, he was like, I had to calm him down with like telling people I was going to hex them. And I'm like, you can't do that. And he's like, why not? And I'm like, because I'm not going to do that. And he's like, whatever, fine. He'll do, he gets very serious. And if anybody has ever, one day, I promise he exists, because he's like never around at my shows. I promise he does exist. You guys will all meet him at Parapsychon. He's going to be working with me. Yeah, everybody will meet him at Parapsychon. But he's so sweet. If ever I'm like, okay, I want to do this and this and this tonight. It's the solstice, it's the equinox, whatever. It's a full moon. And he's like, okay. And he'll really get into it. And he's so sweet. So he'll be doing something and I'll walk over to get something and he'll like walk away and I'll be like, don't break the circle. And he goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I'm just kidding. And then he'll like be doing something and he's like, babe, am I doing witchcraft? And I'm like, you are so doing witchcraft. And he's like, I'm doing witchcraft. And he gets super into it. And it's encouraging because it's like, he's taking it like it's a serious thing. And that's, if you are somebody who practices any kind of spirituality, it's so rewarding when your partner is taking it seriously with you, whether or not they believe it, they take it
Yeah.
seriously for you. And that
Support.
is such a mark of a wonderful, supportive. I hope he's not watching. I don't want him to hear all this.
You might think you'll like him. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Andy's hot. But yeah, so he's very supportive, and he's a big reason why I was able to dive into this. You know, and then eventually was able to make it work so much that I didn't have to, you know, go to my day job anymore. And a lot of that was just his support. But I jokingly say, if I went to him and I was like, hey, I think I'm going to raise butterflies for a living, he would be like, all right, let's put together a business plan, try it out for 3 months, and we'll see where we are. And
Wow.
I think I've said funny things to him like that before, and he's like, yeah, okay, we can try that. And I'm like, dude, I'm so joking, but you're so sweet.
Wow.
He's so fucking sweet.
Well, and you know what? And I think that's very important too, is that when you have somebody in your life that supports your vision, your dream, and your passion, it makes it that much easier. And I think a lot of people that are out there that are investigators, that are doing all this stuff, you know, they've got strong support system, and it starts right there at home with the person you're with the most. And it's good that he sees just how important this is to you to fulfill your passion. And I'll tell you, you are hitting it out of the ballpark with what you're doing, and it's so amazing to be able to sit here and talk to you and learn so much that, I mean, this has been nothing but a learning tree this whole time. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who want to know, how can they order any of your products, where to find you, what are you up to? How is that possible?
I wrote my schedule right here. So laurenhans.com is where you can find, that's where you can find a link to the amethyst crystal pod that's available on the Ghost Hunter store. And if you wait just a couple weeks, where I'm actually releasing the all black crystal pod on the Ghost Hunter store. Yeah, it's going to be badass. I don't know if we're going to call it like, I don't know, like Back to Black, or it's just something. Oh, there goes my ear pod. Something really cool. But there's going to be an all black crystal pod available on the Ghost Hunter store soon.
That's going to be awesome.
Yes. You can order your customs on my website. There is a page just for customs. And then I am going to be at vendor show wise. Well, first, this weekend, if you want to learn how to build the guts, generally speaking, I do a lot to these guts, but the general idea of the guts inside of a crystal pod, I teach a workshop. I teach a build workshop. So you can learn how to build your own proximity sensor. I even bring little crystal stickers so you can make it into a pretend REM pod. But it's shaped like this. It's not shaped like this. But I have a workshop this weekend in Avon Lake, Ohio, with the Cleveland Haunt Club. A link to that is on my website. I am at the Bell Mansion for 28 Days Haunted. Takes over the Bell. I am there on January 20th. And I will have a very limited amount of seer devices, but I will have tons of REM pods. Crystal pods. And then I am speaking at the gathering at the Windermere, March 9th. Gosh, I have stuff, man. I have stuff happening. Michael, remind me to tell you something really quick. And Dale too, because you were there too. April 21st. Now, this is the first time that I'm announcing it specifically on here. April 21st, I am having a special event hunt at Hillview Manor. I spoke to Carrie today, the beautiful, wonderful Carrie at Hillview today, and we are putting together a little ghost hunt at Hillview Manor with me. Along with, I have a pod workshop and an even bigger special announcement that I'm not going to talk about yet, but it has to do with Hillview Manor and it has to do with me talking at your face. So there's all that. But do you remember at Michigan Paracon when we all first met? And I was holding very awkwardly this crystal pod in my hands. And you said, where have we seen this? Has it been on TV? And I said, not yet. Check with me next year.
Yes.
The crystal pod is going to be featured as a featured piece of equipment on Dark Echoes Paranormal on Amazon Prime in their season 2. So it will make its television debut. And Dave Giuliano will be using his personal one as well. And Dave is also just working on getting this everywhere, which is fantastic. So by Michigan Paracon next year, it will have made its debut. Well, by Michigan Paracon, it will have already been on a camera. Maybe not on the television yet, but it is going to be on TV. So that's another box that we checked.
Yes.
So that is amazing. That's congratulations to you. I mean, that's amazing stuff. And to know that, and something you built is out there and showing, and I mean, it shows you just how well this stuff is and how well it's perceived. I mean, we can also see you also, I believe.
Oh,
you did episodes
on TV too.
You are going to be on TV. You are part of the Death Walker series with, of course, Nick Groff and his beautiful wife Tessa.
Do you know who I play on the reenactment?
No.
It was the biggest compliment I have ever.
Oh yes, yes.
In my life, I am Tessa Groff's tatted biker reenactment actress. So I got to play Tessa, which was absolutely amazing. And it's nice because now just having that kind of like connection with her, the most recent video I did about the Faraday cage, like she commented like, love this. And I'm like, I just get to see this beautiful, incredible woman just comment on my shit. And I'm like, okay, queen, I love you. But yeah, so I got to play Tessa. So I got to spend a lot of time with Nick, which was really cool. And he's somebody, of course, that, you know, I've been watching since he appeared, since he looked like he was 15. And so being able to work with somebody like that, especially in a sense that so many people say such bad things about the entertainment industry. And I get it. I get, as paranormal investigators, we can get really up in arms about like, but it's fake. It's entertainment and it serves a purpose and it gets people interested. But when I say that working with Nick and like seeing the actual passion that he had in his project and the talent that he had was so incredible, and just being able to work with somebody that I feel got me into the interest. And I'm not out here trying to fake shit. Like, it serves a purpose. The entertainment is there for us to be like, whoa. And then you get into it. Sometimes it's fake. Whatever. Go out there and figure it out yourself. So that's just kind of me being on my, because Nick and Tessa are beautiful people. They're wonderful, and he's so passionate and talented. So I will stand up for those people. But so wow, damn, just give me a goal. I'll just.
Yes, so make sure you watch season 2, or no, it's not season 4. Is it season 2? Season 4 of Death Walker, and you are going to see the Miss Lovely Lauren
looking like
as part of season 4. So for all those that are wanting to follow you and everyone, where can we find you on social media?
Lauren Hans. See, I made that. I made that for you guys because I was like, I need one of these. That Tesla coil almost electrocuted my eyeball. That was a good time. So it's on. It's real. But I am Lauren Hans on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. I post the most right now on Instagram, and I post a lot of videos about working a little bit better with your equipment on TikTok. So check me out on those platforms.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, this has been the fastest hour I think we've ever had to go through. We could sit here and spend probably about another 15 more hours with you, just picking your brain.
Well, we just gotta make time.
That poor girl.
Oh, we will definitely make time. So yeah, no, once again, I know for those that, I know it's an event I'm going to be at. I'm going to be attending. I'm not going to be there in any other capacity, but I will be at the ParaPsychon, May 17th to the 19th. Check out OSR. It is absolutely an amazing place. I'll tell you, if you get a chance to go ghost hunting there, absolutely take that opportunity and check out OSR. But you know what? At the same time, go to the ParaPsychon, support an amazing event. Coming up next week, we have the organizers as well as the people who run the ghost hunts at the OSR. That is, for those who are going, what is OSR? Ohio State Reformatory, which became famous through the greatest movie of all time, The Shawshank Redemption. I love that movie. I can watch that movie 150,000 times. And now I watch it, I'm like, hey, I was in that area. I was there. But yeah, so check it out. ParaPsychon, May 17th to the 19th, 2024. Tickets at www.parapsychon.com. The lovely Miss Lauren's going to be there. And next week's guests are definitely going to be there for sure. And we look forward to that. That will be Greg and Kathy. They will be... Oh, that's right. So check that out next week, folks. With that, I'm just going to say, Lauren, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us here on the TPV Nation.
It was my pleasure.
Lauren, we're going to wrap it up one more time here. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget, if you don't have this book already, Dark Moonlight by Lauren Hellekson, available on all Amazon outlets. Oh my God, I love this book so much. Discovering your world with magic, mysticism, and the paranormal. Lauren, thank you so much. Of course, like Dale said, a learning tree for an hour and then some. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in tonight, made a comment, said hello. Everybody,
yes, thank
creeps,
you.
the freaks and weirdos that make up the TPV Nation from day one to day now. We don't get to do what we do, and that is this right here, without all of you. So thank you all. Hashtag blessed, thankful, grateful, humbled. With that, you can find us all on Facebook at The Paranormal Voice, Windsor, Ontario Zone. On YouTube, The Paranormal Voice. Subscribe, like, share. Get Fido the family dog in front of there with Grandmama. Make sure she got her teeth in correctly so she doesn't eat herself. Number one. Finally, KGRA Digital Broadcasting worldwide, available on all streaming platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and so many more. Find Windsor, Ontario's on The Paranormal Voice, and so many more amazing shows like A World Awakening with Andrea Perrin, Mystical Awakenings with Deb and RJ DeRusse, all at one stop. Your number one paranormal and alternative talk broadcasting network 24 hours a day at KGRADB.com. We will see you all on the other side. But in the meantime, and in between time, happy hauntings.
Happy huntings.
Happy hauntings!